Hello everyone, welcome to IIFL Markets YouTube channel. I am Shweta Papriwal and today in our Leaders Speak series, we have Mr. V. Srivastava, EVP and Fund Manager, UTI AMC. Welcome Mr. Srivastava. It's a pleasure to have you grace our listeners today.
Yeah, hi, thank you.
Sir, we would want to know that as all of us have read and we are aware that equity fund inflows have show a marked rise in May. Okay, so what are your views on this?
See, there are, I think, a couple of reasons. I think one is generally the level of savings has, gone up in the last 1 year, primarily because there are not many avenues for expenditure and the savings has accumulated, and alternative form of savings, such as a bank deposits or fixed income savings. The rates are the lowest that we have seen in many, many years.
Right.
So, and also the experience with the equity over the last 3-4 years, people who have been doing it on an SIP basis or even on a lump sum basis, whenever they have invested, has been very good. So it's a combination of these two factors that flows have continued to be strong. And now, given the fact that market has stabilized post-COVID, that's given them further confidence to probably increase their allocation. So it's a combination of both these factors which is responsible for the high allocations.
Correct. Sir, your views on the volatility which we are seeing in markets these days?
See, I think if you look at the market, it's a function of many factors. A, overall, how the overall economy does. B, the earnings growth, which is one of the very key factors on the basis of which the market moves, because ultimately the market is a slave to the earnings growth. And C, a very important factor is also the liquidity amongst the various participants, whether it is the FII, whether it's a mutual fund, or whether it's a retail investors. So my guess is what has happened in the last 1 year also is the fact that the share of retail investors have risen quite a lot.
Yes.
As compared to the FIIs or domestic, investors. And when that happens, I think typically they tend to churn much more. They look at more short-term oriented. They move in, move out. That has also led to the volatility. And yes, today we are seeing some uncertainty both on the domestic front. We don't know how the COVID wave 2 will still play out.
Correct.
Of course, we have an experience of wave 1, and most companies that we are interacting with, they are of the view that wave 2 is they are able to handle it better because they know that they have the experiences which they have got from the wave 1. And the second is a global volatility, with all these talk of rate hikes, global inflation going up. There is some level of global volatility also, which is there. It's a combination of these factors. But primarily, I would say the big factor today is that today the retail investor is becoming a big part of the market, which is also positive in the sense, in a market, you need different classes of investors. You have an FIIs who may go in, go out. You have a pension fund or domestic mutual funds who are stable, who don't exit in a hurry. We also have a retail who tend to, go in and go out. So you actually need to have a varying kind of behavior, investment behavior for a market to function properly.
Correct. So, sir, what have been the major contributions in the consistent performance of UTI Core Equity Fund?
See, UTI Core Equity Fund has always been run as a value fund over the last 4 years since I have taken over. And obviously, if you track the period from 2017 or maybe even 2018 to 20, the 2-year time frame, value as a theme hasn't done well at all. So if you look at the typical value sectors such as the PSU or materials or or even pharma at that point of time, they were the ones which underperformed quite a lot.
Right.
And the last 1 year, we have seen a very strong rally in the value-oriented sectors, or value as a theme has outperformed significantly growth and quality. So I think we were always focused on value, and to our credit, we never deterred away from that in spite of our performance not being very good over the period from 2018 to 20, because we knew that it would come back. So we really stuck to our core value theme, value philosophy, which kind of helped us to recoup when the tables turn. The second is our focus on finding the right value sectors. Like, just to give an example, we went overweight on financial services in August, September, after we saw that in the last 5 months, things have stabilized in the financial services sector. The
Right.
credit costs are provided for. There's been a lot of capital raising, and we increased it by 400, 500 bits and went overweight. And after that, I think there was a massive rally in the financial sector. The other part of, I would say, the core equity fund is a focus on mid and small cap, especially the small cap, where the focus is on growth. Now, you may ask me that I'm talking of a value fund, but when I'm talking about growth, I'm meaning finding growth stories at a good valuation. And because of the fact that some of them are small cap or on the border of mid cap, we may get these stories at reasonable valuation because they are not well aware or well documented in the market. But thanks to our strong in-house research, which UTI possesses, we are able to identify and come out with these kind of stocks, which has also played a very important role. So I think our unwavering focus on value and also finding growth-oriented stocks in the mid and small cap has played a very big role in the strong performance in the last one.
Right. So are there any changes in the strategy to build a COVID-proof portfolio for the funds managed by you?
See, in my view, there's nothing called a COVID-proof portfolio. I mean, the reason I'm saying is that if last year, had we built a COVID-proof portfolio by, say, April, May, looking at the cases or thinking that it's going to arise, and we had built a portfolio of FMCG, pharma, or other stocks which probably won't be impacted by COVID, it would have been the worst performer in the last 1 year. So it's very, I think it's very difficult to kind of predict when this will end, or to look at too much of a short term. I think our focus has always been on the medium and longer run. Probably, if I want to say today, tomorrow, if I want to go overweight on a financial services, I may not want to go to my desired way. I may take it in bits and pieces, looking at the way the wave unfolds. The second wave unfolds and what has been the behavior. But I don't think we should look at such short-term, thing and try to build a large proportion of COVID-proof portfolio stocks. We may get the returns in the short run. We may be the best performing fund in a quarter, but when the tide turns, it will be too late for us to change. And that is when you really lose out in the longer run. So we continue to believe in the long-term stories, invest in the longer-term stories, and also keep an eye on the near-term challenges as well. And probably, as I said, we may not take a much bigger exposure in the sectors we like if you look at the near-term exposure, near-term challenges. But we would definitely not want to go to the other extreme and build a complete COVID-proof portfolio, because I think today the underlying assumption is that there will be growth in the longer run, and one needs to build a portfolio based on.
Correct. So any views and outlook on how will UTI core equity fare in the near term?
See, as I said, I think core equity is an extremely value-focused fund. And I do believe that value as a theme still has more legs to go. The reason being is that typically value tends to perform well when there is a kind of a early stages of growth in the economy, when the economy sustains. It's when all the value starts performing. And if you even go back to history to see from 2003 to 7, the stocks which performed the best were the banking, the PSU banks, a lot of PSU companies, and the FMCG actually underperformed. So I will not be surprised if a similar event unfolds over the next 2 to 3 years, and the fund is well positioned on that. The second point being is a very strong focus on our mid and small cap, which is a 50% of the portfolio, where clearly we are articulating our preferences for looking at growth stories available at reasonable valuation. And we are clearly focused on value. So I will not buy a 50 PE stock, a 60 PE consumer durable stock, thinking that the growth will be 20-25%. But yes, I would definitely go in for a 20-25 PE consumer durable stock if I believe that the growth will be far ahead of what the market or the current market prices imply.
So your views on PSU stocks?
See, PSU stocks have always been a source of value because they have always traded cheap. Most of them have 95% of the stocks have traded cheap, and for a valid reason. I think very few of them have been able to demonstrate a consistent return ratios or free cash flow generation, which are the traits we as a fund house look across our strategies, whether it's value or growth. And if you look at the history, I think very few PSU stocks have been consistently been able to deliver on both these parameters. So I think we would look at PSUs selectively. I think we would focus on PSUs where we believe that they have market leadership, like for example, say in defense, where they have market leadership and they have a
Right.
right to win. And the second part, also the fact that a strong belief that they would earn consistent, ROEs and free cash flow generation, which would help them. The second part is we would also look at selective ideas where we believe that privatization is high, because I think when the PSU gets privatized, I think there is a lot of efficiency gains which is possible, lot of improvement in the efficiency which is possible, which can be realized by the new owner. So I would not be bullish on PSU pack in general, but would look for selective ideas whichever fits into my zone. I would not look at pure value there, trading cheap, but what I would clearly look out for stocks which can anytime in the future generate huge, decent free cash flows and also generate decent ROEs. Uh, that is a big criteria that I would see for any stock, and it is also applicable to PSU.
Correct. So, and in the banking space, would you prefer PSUs or private banks?
See, I have a mix of both, but PSU is largely restricted to bank. But again, there my take on the banking PSU per se is, except for a couple of banks, I don't see the remaining banks actually returning to a, say, an ROE of 12 to 15%, which is what we look for any banking or a financial services stock. So I really see that as a challenge for them to go back to that levels, because I think most of them don't have a presence in the retail space. I think which is where a source of big ROE for all the banks, whether it's HDFC or ICICI, any of the banks, a big source of high profitability is the retail operations. And number two, on the corporate side, I think they've clearly burned their fingers in the last 10, 12 years by lending to lower quality corporates. And if they were to focus on high quality corporates, I think there's no money to be made there. So if they have to go in for a 12 to 15% ROE, they need to build up, either strong niches in, say, an auto finance or, some other finance, or gold finance, which are high ROE businesses, or focus on SMEs or, AA minus corporate lending,
Right.
where unfortunately they have not had a very good track record. So I don't foresee most of them making the cut in terms of having a 12 to 15% ROE. They could be trading bounces. I mean, if something trades at 0.4 price to book, it can re-rate to 0.7 price to book and give a good return. But as an investment house, we are not looking for those type of ideas. We are looking for ideas where I'm comfortable buying at 0.7, 0.8 price to book, but where my comfort level is high that it will make 13, 15% ROEs in the next couple of years.
So you've shared quite a lot of knowledge with us. So my last question with you would be, what are the sectors that you are bullish on for the upcoming quarter?
See, as I said, we don't work on a quarter basis. We work on a longer term basis. So I will share more on a longer term basis.
Right.
I think one of the themes that I'm quite positive on is a domestic recovery, and within that, I think I'm quite positive on the capex cycle turning. The reason being is that today we have government pushing a lot of capex, through its own infrastructure programs, and also asking the PSU banks to invest significantly in the capex. We are also seeing first signs of private sector capex also coming up, because they now feel more confident of the economy growing and the government policies. And we believe that the stocks in the sectors are attractively valued. I mean, while they have gone up in the last 1 year, but I think the kind of growth that will come in the next 3 to 4 years, still it is undervalued with regards to that growth. And I think this is a sector which completely fits into that value zone. I think a decent amount of growth expected over the medium to longer term. And yes, in the shorter term, any volatility there in terms of not meeting the investor performance for a quarter, I would be looking that actually as an opportunity to accumulate more if I'm able to get.
So thank you so much, sir, for sharing your views and insights with us. We wish to have you more on our platform. Thank you.